I'll take it to you first, Seema. The way Rushdie's visit and non-visit was covered, do you think that the media actually helped and abetted the creation of theocracy? And William Dalrymple has joined us. Okay.
No, I think that the media was obsessive in its coverage of the Salman Rushdie issue, to the point that it completely eclipsed everything else that happened at the Jaipur Literary Festival. It was as if nothing else was happening except Rushdie. And at the same time, I think that it really reinforced, and I would not say not deliberately, the stereotype of that Muslim, you know, demanding the man's head. And by completely ignoring the Muslim and the secular voices and the liberal voices of this country. Secondly, the media made it an issue, which it isn't an issue, by the way, in Uttar Pradesh elections at all. And it eclipsed an absolutely brilliant festival.
Barkha, you, in fact, were on camera and you said that the media should not provide oxygen for the orthodoxy. In fact, we created a narrative by putting a mic in front of somebody who you know, whose position you know. But weren't you part of it? Didn't your team do that as well?
We actually held off on the story, I think pretty much in its first week, not touching it at all, till the politics took over. And it became evident that this story, that I agree with Seema, that in many ways the media had played to a pre-written script.
We had many options of how to do the story. And it seems that there is an enormous bhir chal in this, that a script is handed to you by either the government or the police or the organizers. No, one second. It's psychologically handed to you, not physically. All the channels follow the same line, which is that they'll have one extremist, not except for your channel. Nobody had any liberal Muslims. Javed, and you had
we had
Siddiqui.
several voices. We had Javed Anand as well.
But mostly they take the extremists, and the channels only covered the Rushdie position, whether he should come or he should not come, or what people should do. Now, I'm proposing that there could have been many other ways to handle the story.
I think the story should have been ignored.
No, I don't
begin with.
No,
I actually think the story
I don't think you can
ignored.
ignore a story like this.
In the initial stages,
I don't think so. I think there are many ways of doing the story. Look at it. This is the option. That suppose Deoband issues this thing that Rushdie should not come. All right. Instead of going berserk as we all did, you instead follow the Deoband. You expose them. You go to them. You find out what is happening in their seminary. What was happening was that apparently there was a struggle between the nephew and the uncle decided that I want to grab this issue to get what he thought was his vote bank. Now nobody exposed that. So it goes into its own narrative of just Rushdie. Is he coming? Should he come? Is he a criminal? Is he a sinner? All these kind of things. So the script that was handed to us was that stop him or not stop him.
I don't think anyone
instead of investigating why this happened, we just ignored that completely and went into the hype. What do you think, Hartosh?
See, I think in focusing so much on the Rushdie issue, you are ignoring the nature of media here. And we work in mass media. It's a celebrity-obsessed world that we live in. And it's not just the media, the world functions in that manner. If, say, you did not have the Rushdie affair, what do you think largely would have been the coverage of this festival? We would have been focusing on opera. It is not as if Rushdie took over the coverage of the festival.
It doesn't mean that we have to keep doing this. No, if we are making enormous mistakes by getting sucked into this celebrity culture, why are we repeating it? If you yourself are saying and are cynical about it, why can't journalists think about things in a different way other than the expected narrative of going after celebrities? If, for example, a serious story had been done, as I said, on Deoband, another serious story on Ashok Gehlot's position, on the Muslims that were killed in the mosque by his Rajasthani police, if the focus had been on that and focus on liberal Muslims, don't you think it would have been a different narrative?
Sure, see, we will always have competing narratives. It's not as if
But there's only one narrative existed, which was Rushdie is a criminal or sinner. Argue, should he come, should he not come?
That was not the narrative.
That's all that happened. That was all the narrative.
That was not the narrative.
You were not watching Times Now.
I wasn't watching Times Now, but I have to. I readily concede.
You should be.
I know you're a fan. I'm not.
I'm a fan of all of you.
But on many other channels, there were voices of liberal Muslims where I do agree.
Not
with you.
enough. There was no
Actually, I agree with
story
Seema
on
a
it.
little more than I agree with you. I think in those initial stages, we prototyped and stereotyped the Muslim, and that's the sin the media created.
No, there's also a point of a perspective. You know, when you're handling a story like Rushdie, which is going on, the whole thing wasn't put into a perspective, and the perspective had many elements. It had the elements of the Muslim. It had the element of secularism. It had the element of the literary festival. It had the element, and that was a very important element, of the Congress politics in Rajasthan and in Uttar Pradesh. Now, having said all that, if the perspective had been kept, and if it hadn't become just the Rushdie versus the Muslim story,